Today on Public Eye News, Public Health responds to the Michigan Supreme Court decision for Governor Gretchen Whitmer's orders, and President Donald Trump returns to the White House.
Later, Brady Hinshaw will have your weather, and Max Stevens will be back for your sports. Hi, I'm Nate Jacobs.
And I'm Max Stevens. This is Public Eye News. The Central UP and NMU Archives are celebrating National Archives Month this October and will be participating in an Ask an Archivist Day tomorrow. University archivist Marcus Robbins will be responding to questions throughout the day about NMU and UP history, the Archives collections, and more. Questions can be submitted to the NMU Archives Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook pages using the hashtag #AskAnArchivist. This month, the NMU Archives are featuring a series of posts on social media celebrating the LGBTQ+ community, sharing images from a community newsletter called Aurora, published in the 90s. A complete recap of Ask the Archivist Day will be posted online this Friday. And the Gladstone Farmers Market has ended its season early due to COVID precautions, with yesterday being the last day for the market. According to market manager Samantha Gersbowski, despite the pandemic and the necessary precautions that have come with it, the market was still a big hit. Despite the early closure of the market, you may still be able to purchase goods from your favorite vendors. To see if products from your favorite vendors are still available, you can call 906-280-6031. Its usual May opening for next season.
After Michigan's new COVID-related executive order passed last week, the Public Health Delta and Menominee counties issued a response. Their statement mentioned the fact that the new orders lack basis under Michigan law and that it will not affect the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The PHDM is asking to bear with them in patience as they work out the protocols and how the Supreme Court ruling affects them. They're also urging the community to keep practicing the same practices they put in place by the previous executive orders. For more information, visit phdm.org. And according to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, October is now Michigan's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Whitmer issued the state holiday in an effort to remind businesses, residents, and institutions to be aware of cyber criminals. Michigan had over 6,000 victims of cybercrime last year alone, and it cost $36 million in damages. This October is the 10th consecutive year Michigan has recognized the month as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Michigan State Police will be teaching Michiganders proper cyber hygiene and how to be safe on the net. Hashtag #BeCyberSmart is the theme for this year's cybersecurity campaign.
Yesterday, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Director Robert Gordon issued an emergency order under MCL 333.2253, restricting gathering sizes, requiring face coverings in public, and placing limitations on bars and other venues. This order follows the Michigan Supreme Court's decision last Friday invalidating Governor Whitmer's COVID-related executive orders. Gordon's orders largely reinstate most of Governor Whitmer's orders, but do so using powers granted to the department after the Spanish flu of 1918. If the MDHHS director determines that control of an epidemic is necessary to protect public health, the director may, by way of emergency order, establish procedures to be followed during the epidemic. The order is effective immediately and remains in effect through October 30th. And the Michigan Supreme Court ruling that came down on Friday is causing confusion. Justices said Governor Gretchen Whitmer's executive orders during the pandemic were unconstitutional. WSBT's 22's Caitlin Conan spoke to Berrien County Health Department about how businesses should handle that news.
The executive orders are still in effect right now, so that means you do still need to mask up. Now, under Supreme Court rules, decisions don't go into effect for at least 21 days. For months, the Republican-controlled legislature has been at odds with the Democratic governor over how much power she has in creating COVID-related restrictions. This Supreme Court ruling makes it clear that in the future, they'll need to work together to extend any state of emergency.
There is a potential need for a state of emergency to be declared, but it needs to be localized and directly tied to hospitals being overrun.
State House Representative Brad Paquette says he's in favor of crafting a county-by-county reopening model. He says he's had constituents reaching out to him throughout the pandemic with concerns about Whitmer's orders being overly restrictive.
Our voices, as the body that's closest to the people, it just was straight up ignored.
Whitmer has defended her orders in the past, saying she wouldn't have been able to save as many lives if she couldn't have acted so quickly. The governor called the court ruling, quote, deeply disappointing and says she, quote, disagrees with the court's interpretation of the Michigan Constitution. She says she plans to seek alternative authority, something a constitutional law professor at Western Michigan University says is still possible.
It's not like the governor has lost power to protect the public health and safety. She can still act with Health and Human Services, and at the same time, she should probably use the Emergency Management Act and work with the legislature.
Local health departments also have authority to issue their own emergency orders, like wearing a mask. Selena Guevara, WSBT 22 News.
After this break, we'll be back with your national and international news.
Hey, what's up, John? Registering voters is a critical form of self-defense for those voters against campaigns that may look at them in a one-dimensional way. Young people are more powerful at the ballot box. A lot of them are Latinx voters. The critical point is going to be registering them to vote, connecting them to the process. Thanks for being a voter. Thanks for being a voter. Appreciate it.
Tonight at 9 on WNMU-TV.
Welcome back. Despite being regarded as the most tested man in America, that did not help President Trump after he tested positive for coronavirus last week. Trump was not the only one who tested positive, as did White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and White House Counselor Kellyanne Conway, among others. The president recently hosted an event following the announcement of new Supreme Court judge nominated Amy Coney Barrett and filled the Rose Garden with over 100 people, all without masks. Navy Commander Sean Conley, Trump's doctor, is refusing to say when the president has last tested negative for COVID. And President Trump is back in the White House this morning after stay at Walter Reed Medical Center. Still receiving treatments for the coronavirus, the president says he feels better than he has in 20 years. CBS's Naomi Rackham has the latest from Washington.
President Trump walked out of Walter Reed Medical Center Monday evening, 3 days after being hospitalized with the coronavirus.
You think you might be a super spreader, Mr. President?
The commander-in-chief then took a helicopter back to the White House, where he'll continue receiving treatment.
And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it.
The president's message comes as 210,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, and more than a dozen people close to him have recently tested positive. The latest, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany.
We're going back to work. We're going to be out front. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led.
President Trump's doctors say his condition has improved since the weekend, but they acknowledge he's not out of the woods yet.
If we can get through to Monday with him remaining the same or improving, better yet, then we will all take that final deep sigh of relief.
Former Vice President Joe Biden at an NBC town hall said he isn't surprised his opponent got the coronavirus.
Anybody who contracts the virus by essentially saying masks don't matter, social distancing doesn't matter, I think is responsible for what happens to them.
Tomorrow, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris face off in their only debate, but plexiglass will divide the two candidates. Naomi Rackham, CBS News, Washington.
Officials in Kyrgyzstan earlier today nullified the results of a weekend parliamentary election after mass protests erupted in cities across the country. Opposition supporters seized government buildings overnight and demanded a new vote amid reports of vote buying and other election fraud. Police attempted to disperse crowds with water cannons, tear gas, and flash grenades, though roughly 590 people were injured and one person was killed in the commotion, according to the Kyrgyzstan Health Ministry. Members of several opposition parties have voiced plans to oust current President Surunbay Jimbekov and form a new government. A police officer charged with murder in Wolf City, Texas, is out on bond after allegedly killing a 31-year-old unarmed black man over the weekend. His decision to use deadly force is under further investigation. CBS's Naomi Rackham reports.
Say his name, Jonathan Price!
Neighbors lined the streets with tributes last night in memory of Jonathan Price, a 31-year-old unarmed black man allegedly shot and killed by police over the weekend.
I came up here and seen my son laying there, fighting for his life. And they wouldn't let me get close to him.
Price's family claims he was breaking up a domestic dispute between a man and a woman outside this convenience store in Wolf City outside Dallas when authorities were called in. According to witnesses, the responding officer tased, then shot Price multiple times. He later died at the hospital.
I said, "Who shot Jonathan?" He said, "I did." And I said, "What you shooting for?" He said, "Get back."
Price, a city employee and personal trainer, is being described as a pillar of the community.
Yeah, he was trying to help someone, and he got the worst end of it. That's what he always did, try to help others. They need to pay for all this stuff. It's just too much going on.
Sean David Lucas, the officer allegedly connected to the shooting death, was arrested Monday and charged with murder, but posted his $1 million bond within hours of arrest. Lucas's ultimate decision to use deadly force is now under investigation by the Texas Rangers. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
After this break, we'll be right back at you with weather and sports.
Vice presidential debate. The candidates will make their cases to the American people.
Congratulations. I'll see you in Salt Lake City.
Who can convince voters their ticket should lead?
We don't have to accept the failed government of Donald Trump and Mike Pence.
A PBS NewsHour Vote 2020 election special. The vice presidential debate.
Wednesday night at 9 on WNMU-TV.
And welcome back. I'm your weatherman, Brady Hinshaw, and behind me on the NMU campus, you can see it's pretty cloudy out, but there is no rain showers yet. Looking at our current conditions, we have mostly cloudy skies with a temperature of 63 degrees, winds out the east at 8 miles an hour, and a barometric pressure of 29.69 and falling. Looking at tonight, we have some rain showers coming in, low of 48, winds out the west at 11 miles an hour. Looking ahead towards tomorrow, we have mostly cloudy skies with a high of 52, winds out the northwest at 15 miles an hour. Looking at the beautiful UP, it is cloudy all over except for in sunny Sault Ste. Marie where it's 62, 61 in both Manistee and Escanaba. Looking at the western half, we have 64 in Menominee, 65 in Iron Mountain, 66 in Ironwood, 65 in Houghton, and back in beautiful Marquette it is 63. Looking ahead, we have Thursday a high of 56 with a low of 43 and mostly sunny. Friday a high of 70 and low of 52 and rain. Saturday a high of 59 with a low of 42 and mostly cloudy. Well, after looking at the week ahead, we look at last night with Max Stevens with the sports.
It was a great night for football, Brady. The NFL's Week 4 concluded with a pair of matchups on Monday Night Football last night. First, the Kansas City Chiefs defense forced 4 New England turnovers en route to a 26-10 victory. The Patriots sorely missed the presence of Cam Newton as backup quarterback Brian Hoyer lost a fumble and threw an interception. And after he was benched, Jarrett Stidham also threw 2 picks. With the win, the Pats fall to 2-2 while the Chiefs improved to 4-0. Then in the nightcap, the Green Bay Packers improved to 4-0 with a 30-16 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Despite missing top receiving options in Allen Lazard and Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers delivered another MVP-caliber performance, going 27 for 33 through the air with 327 yards and 4 touchdowns. The NFL's Week 5 action kicks off this Thursday when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Chicago Bears. In other NFL news, after starting the season 0-4, the Houston Texans have fired head coach and general manager Bill O'Brien. O'Brien was first hired in 2014 and went 52 for 48 across 7 seasons, winning 4 division titles in the process. After firing GM Brian Gainey in 2019, O'Brien was given more personnel power and traded several draft picks in order to acquire players like Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. His most controversial decision came this past offseason when he traded one of the league's top receivers in DeAndre Hopkins for running back David Johnson and a second-round pick. O'Brien concludes his tenure in Houston as the only head coach in Texans history with a winning record. And the MLB playoffs continue to march closer to the World Series as today the American League Divisional Series both continue while the National League Divisional Series gets underway. In the ALDS, the Houston Astros and New York Yankees are out to early 1-0 series leads. Houston by way of a 10-5 win over the Oakland Athletics and New York via a 9-3 win over the Tampa Bay Rays. Game 2 of those series are slated for tonight in addition to Game 1 of the NLDS between the San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers. Already underway is Game 1 between the Miami Marlins and Atlanta Braves, where currently Miami's up 4-3 on Atlanta at the end of the 6th inning. And with that, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you very much for joining us in this edition of Public Eye News. We'll see you all tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.